Hello, everybody out there in your life, enjoying your day. Thank you for tuning in. This is Sherby Dapples. I am your host, Sherby, and today I'm going to go over my work method using notebooks and not necessarily planners, but how I am hoping to utilize planners outside of notebooks because I do a lot by hand and I want to move away from that, except it's a system that has always worked well for me. So work through it with me in this video where I show you what I have done with Leuchtturm 1917 dot grid notebooks and two potential options for the future. And we're just gonna go over it all together. We're gonna see what comes out of this because that's how I tend to figure things out. So let's do it. I have my coffee. I have warmed it up once already. I suspect I will have to warm it up again shortly. So I can't, unfortunately, show you too much. I might take the books off camera just for a moment so I can go through them with you. But this is what I have been using for the last 7 to 8 years at work. I used to use just composition notebooks. I don't have those anymore. Back in the days when I was a caseworker, composition notebooks were also my work planners. Again, for lack of a better word. And I also used composition notebooks quite frequently just in my school life. I always loved planners, agendas, any kind of notebook that I could get from Staples or any new job I got where they handed you a Staples catalog and you got to pick a planner. It was awesome. I loved, that was one of my favorite parts of the job, you know. And At a Glance was always the go-to planner that you had. I loved having the official set up on my desk, and I'm sure many of you can actually relate to these feelings. In high school, I just wanted to use a new planner all the time. And composition notebooks in my grown-up life, when I actually couldn't afford to have really good actual planners, I used composition notebooks. And what I would do is in the margin of a page, I would have the date and my notes and things I would have to do over here. When I was a caseworker, if I had to record everything, so phone calls, emails, I would have certain symbols that I would use in the margin to highlight what was going on with, you know, the family names I was working with, etc. When I got my first official sort of corporate-like job where I could actually afford nicer things, I started using the Leuchtturm notebooks for work. I was using them already for my journaling, Moleskine first and then Leuchtturm. And I just love them, and I would always get the pen loops that come with it. So for instance, this is the first one, I think. So I had the pen loop in the back that I also would spend the money for the official Leuchtturm ones. They stick really well. I have discovered that Temu actually sells some pen loops, and they're not terrible. Amazon has a very generic brand as well. The way that I would do my work notebooks, I just want to make sure I don't flip open to a page that you can't see. Mostly because I work in a field that can have some proprietary information, I guess you could say. So let me find a good page that shows you. And it was very bullet journal style stuff that I would do. So let me see here. Do I have anything in here that's, yeah, this is cool. So I would take a note, just put the date at the top. I'd have a checkbox of things I have to do. I would write it down. Then I would also take notes. I kept an index at the front for specific things, you know, my work passwords. I would have all of the tasks that I would have to do that day, etc. And it would all be written up front for me to refer to. Then I started trying to get a little bit more, I don't want to say fancy dancy, but that is awfully close. So I started making more banners. You know, I would draw my little banner for the day. I would put meetings up next to my banner, and then I would just have my bullet job list. So things I got done in the day, cross it out when I got it done, arrow if I didn't get it done, and I would have to do it the next day. And that would continue throughout the year, with this page being for notes that happened, you know, close enough to this. And this was actually my system for probably 6 years. I had the banner, I put the date, I would use different colors as headings eventually, so that some, like one color would be for meeting notes, one color would be for research notes, etc. And this was my format for a very long time using the Leuchtturm. So the following year, this is the year that we ended up going home for COVID. And my job list would get a bit larger. So this is just one day at work. This is another day at work. And again, still using the banners and the date. And I would just continue to do that throughout. Let's see. Yep, so this page also. And I would, keep notes if I had things I had to do outside of this, and just really keep track of my work. So this is for the whole month of February that I would need to get done. And then this is the day-by-day stuff. And I kept that up. Now this year, and now I know that I'm pretty good for showing a lot of stuff in here. This year I started using what's more like a week's format, and all of this is hand-drawn. So I would write just the work week, obviously, because I refuse to work on weekends, although I still will if I have to. And I always put the month at the top, the days of the week on the side, and I have a good amount of space for my different tasks each day. On the opposite page, I write what meetings I have next to that day of the week. And then I will keep a running list of, this is everything I know I have to get done this week. And I have to cross it out as I go to it. And here I would break down more additional things. This doesn't align with this because I may have different tasks, or the big idea is here, but it's broken down into sections here. Then I would have a future or next week log here. And ideally, I would take these and keep it at a better list toward the back, where I would keep notes from different meetings, takeaways. And I would put a margin here, and I will write what my what the focus is, what the meeting might be, what the idea is behind what I'm writing about. So this would be my format for everything. I mean, and it works. It's a really great format, and I love it. Problem is, I have to hand write it every single week. And while I do enjoy that, I also don't sometimes. It's all dependent on my mood. And I don't want to sit and do an entire year. I had considered that. And what happens is, if I only do like the next few weeks, I end up having a mess in the middle that is not lining up with the rest. It just is all random here now. And that is not helpful to me when I want to look back for my work stuff. And again, I still keep the index at the front with what month falls on which page, etc. So here are some options that I came up with. Now, I will probably go back to this format sometimes because it has been helpful. And who's to say I won't still do that in the week when January starts, or 2 weeks when January starts, because I have very much enjoyed that format. And just to show you again, in case you're somebody at work who wants to borrow it, I would, change colors sometimes on the weeks. So, and you can see here, for instance, I didn't set it up in time for this week. I was just like, I don't have it in me to do it. And so I had to make do. So some months are just, like this. Some are, not as busy weeks. So some of these are, sometimes, and I just got a whole bunch of stickers. That's pretty fun during the holidays. So some weeks aren't as busy, but some weeks are, and I just don't write it all down because I'm just trying to get stuff done, Or I know pretty much that all this 1 week I'm working on these 2 particular things, and I don't need to worry about any of it. I don't need to take quite as many of the same notes as I used to, but just in case, the remaining pages are all for notes back here. And I also will do LinkedIn Learning, so I have enough note pages at the back. Obviously, a Hobonichi weeks or a Kinbor weeks or any other kind of weeks is going to be far too small for me. I find vertical weeklies is far too narrow. I cannot use them. And then anything else that offers horizontal weeks, they include weekends, and that's just wasted space for me. And I have not found anything that is just a work week that really works for me. Now, someday, if you have any tips for doing this, I would love to make my own planner that is just like this. Leuchtturm does have a weekly planner, but it includes the weekends. This would be my ideal setup for work, just all the time. This week, next week, meetings, and the week that I'm currently working in. And I would also love to incorporate some sort of front section the way Sterling Ink had, was it? Yes, Sterling Ink with goals, because then you can also work in, if you have yearly reviews or semi-annual reviews, you could create your own goal section at the front as well. And again, if I do this again in 2025, I will be actually writing out that section, because when it comes time to doing our self-evals or our goals for the following year, I think that would be incredibly helpful. So here are two options I found. An undated happy planner, which I really don't love already because of the rings, but I thought I will give it a try, because who knows, I might like it more than I suspect. I never know until I try. It's like when you go shopping, you know, and there are these clothes on hangers, and you just need to see it on a person, you know, but more than that, you need to see it on yourself. My mother taught me to just always try on all the things. You never know what it's going to look like on you. And she has handed me some really atrocious garments, but when I put some of them on, they look great. And so you never know. You just never know until you try it. You might love it. So these are the things that I got as options. This one I feel a little bit less likely to use, mostly because of the rings, also because it has weekends, but I really like some elements of it, and I'll show you those in just a moment. Other ideas for this, though, would work very well in a personal life. So if I go on a vacation, I can use it for scrapbooking. If I wanted to have like an album where I just record things each week that are important, because we don't have photograph albums anymore. And I did just get a Canon selfie to print photos, and I could have my own. I don't have to order it to be printed, that sort of thing. So in the Happy Planner, at the end of each month, I just want to make sure that this is seen. Okay. At the end of each month, before the next month, so I should say this should be in the beginning, but it's before the month. Again, this is undated. You have a list of priorities, something that's important, and things you can take note of. Obviously, this would work well for work. Like this month, here are my priorities to get done. Some things that are especially important that I have to work on. And this could be just a note-taking area. It could be further detail. It could be, you know, an invisible stack of things that you need to work on. I have all these other things that are not part of my daily to-dos, but they're things I would prefer and like to have time to work on. So that is a great option of a page there. I ordered the dashboard layout. First you have the month. I wouldn't use this, honestly, unless it was to just see at a glance. I write, design, and build and launch emails at my job, and I also work with content strategy. And I could use this to just show when things are launching, even though we have online tools at work. So I'm not sure if I would, but I could. I could also use this for other tasks. It doesn't have to be used as a calendar, really. I'm not sure. But this is the dashboard layout, and this is what appealed to me a bit, because I still would have that list of things I have to do in a week. I still have looking ahead, like what I would have for next week. Important could be an area for just little note-taking, you know, for different meetings of some kind. And then we have this blank space here. I'm not quite sure what the blank space could be, but I could do motivational quotes. I don't know. It could just be run over. You know, if I run out of space, I can use this. There's enough space in each day to write what my tasks are, but some days I have a whole lot more. If you look again in my current system, and sometimes, I mean, I write more lengthy kind of sentence, you know, things. It's not just one task. It's also subtasks that are included in that. And it takes up a fair amount of space. And if you look, it is bigger than the space I'm currently using, but it's much more narrow. It's like half the space. So I feel if I wrapped it around, it's going to take up almost the entire thing, if not more of it. And then we have the weekends, which of course are problematic because I don't want to work on the weekends. So that was my first option. And that's really all the Happy Planner has is those spreads I just showed you. And at the very end, there's one notes page. And let me show you that just so I can be doing my due diligence. So it's just this one note page, and that's it. That's all it is. Now, I could just pull the pages out and have it on the desk, and I don't need this big ass notebook on my desk, you know, because it is such a huge size difference, you see. So that's one option. The next is this Kinbor A5. Now, when I was looking for Kinbors, I did a couple comparison videos. I did an A6 video, abracadabra, you can see it right there. And I also did a weeks comparison video with the Hobonichi. And yeah, was it the Hobonichi I compared it to? Yes, I believe it was. And that is right there. So you can go check those out. I do not want a vertical because I know I cannot work in that. But then I saw a video, there's a couple that they go over paper goods and planners, and they had a Kinbor and they mentioned the 8 grid. And I was like, what's that? That looks like it could be helpful. Again, it still has weekends, but I might be able to work through that. So it has, you know, just like your year at a glance calendars. And then it has these sections broken down by month, which could be very handy for goal setting or goal keeping. And you could just, you know, have checkbox or marks about your goals. You could have your calendar here for things you're planning, bigger projects, etc. Meetings, looking ahead at vacation days, all of those. So I like that. These are very large ones as well. When you have like the Hobonichi cousin, for example, you might have 3 months on each page. And this is 2 months per page with lots of space, including extra at the bottom, extra at the top, and the days that you'd be working with. Then, of course, you have your monthly calendars. Again, not positive how I could use them, but, you know, you don't have to. It could just be doodling, taking notes. They could be meeting notes, you know, that you have. You could just use them however you want. The text and the fonts and everything are light enough that if you wrote right over it, I don't think it would be an issue. And then we go to this middle section here, which could also be a really great area for tracking goals and seeing if you're meeting what those goals should be. So this could be a really helpful page. It could also highlight, for instance, in my job, the publications that I would be designing and mailing out, and it could just be a general checklist like, yep, I did it for this month. Yep, I did it for that month. Or any larger goals for content strategy, like what our focuses are for each quarter, for instance. And you could see, you would just have quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. Done. Now, this is the layout for the weeks. It looks at first glance to me a bit confusing and busy. And I think that's because if you take, I don't have a piece of just plain white paper close by. When it is folded down with the other pages, the grid looks very, very dark. Behind it, though, if you lift it up, it's a bit lighter than it would seem. And each day has these 2 dots, so you could section it off into 3 sections of the day: morning, afternoon, evening. Now, if I wanted to use this as a work planner, I could just have the top section for meetings and then the second section for all of my to-do things. But again, I have a lot of to-dos, and these are still pretty narrow, just like the Happy Planner, but they're longer. There's a lot more space in length. And I may write smaller in this given the space. So here are a couple of my issues. This section would work out for me as my priorities for the week, the things that I have to get done. Saturday and Sunday, I could also use as things I have to do for future planning. I could also break out one of these sections to highlight my meetings. So I could break out, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and just write my meetings in those different squares. I don't know. I just don't know. This is just such a good system in here. I wish that I could find a dupe of that. I think that it may be my first foray into creating a planner because I love it so much, but this could be a possibility. I also just love the idea of being able to use Bashuan or generic Tomoe River paper at work, you know, and it's small, it's flexible, it's like you could throw it in your bag. It's going to be totally fine. The end paper is pretty. I can sticker up, you know, the crap out of it. And then it does have at the very end all of these notes pages. So you get to the end of December and then it just ends, which is also great because I won't be wasting any months or anything in these pages. So a good deal of it is for the actual planning. And then you have numbered pages at the end. So this could be an index page for all the meetings, etc. And how many notes pages total are there? I'll get to these other things at the end in a moment. 64 notes pages. And given the small grid and the thinness of them, I could probably, you know, I would probably use them. I don't know if I would need more. I think that's unlikely. So that's what I'm thinking so far for ideas. At the end of this, just to give you a goog for it, this is like a timetable. So say you have habits each day that you want to follow a specific timetable, you can put that here. Gift list, I don't know how you could use that for work, quite honestly. 21-day plan. This could actually be helpful if you do anything on the side at work, like any kind of trainings, any leadership programs, any LinkedIn learning. You could keep track of the certifications that you get throughout the year. Anytime that you get an accolade, a reward, a note at work from somebody who thinks you did a good job, and you can note them all here so that when it comes time to do your goals, you can point them out. You could keep track of certain meetings, like, you know, oh, this is the day that my boss said this, and you write it here and you can remember. Any of these sorts of things I think is a great idea. List of accomplishments, projects, tasks that you've gotten done, maybe a running list for the year of things that you want to do on these 2 pages. I mean, that's a lot, you know, that you can keep track of. Who knows, like whatever your system is at work, you could have it there. Contacts for people at work, anything like that. Then we just have, you know, general measurement notes, etc., a travel log. But again, I am a fan of using all these pages for some purpose, even if it is not the intended purpose, and contact information in the back. So this is probably one of my fastest videos ever, but what do you think? I love my system, and if you guys like it, I might just do a video when I go to work it out so that you can see it and do it with me if you would like. This is just an A5 Leuchtturm 1917. I do use the dotted grid. So if you see, it's just a dot. It's not a grid. And I love these notebooks. I really love them. If you ever see them on clearance, I really recommend you get them. They are sturdy. They fall open flat. They're great pages that will take just about any ink. I have watercolored in them even. I use one as kind of like, not quite a morning pages thing, but just a little more of a creative journal type place. And I have done, like, here's gouache on the inside, just so you can see how it takes it. So this is gouache, totally took it fine. And then I have watercolor in here somewhere as well. So watercolor, totally fine. So really, really great notebooks. And when I see them on some kind of sale, I absolutely snag them up. I did a Happy Planner unboxing haul, and hopefully by the time I post this, that video is posted. And these are boxes that I think I could use to kind of help separate this out so it doesn't look quite so confused to me and crowded. So I could just use various stickers to break it up a little bit, you know, with to-do boxes and tasks and meeting boxes. And these look like they would fit fairly well there. They're a little bit bigger than this, but there's still space in between each individual box so that I could utilize them. Really great sticker packs for this. Now, I did wait a while and these were all on sale, and some of them don't stick great. I hope that's not the case for all of them. But these are good sticker packs to work with in a work planner. This one is for the classic size productivity, and then this one is the essential boxes and borders. All right, I will be very interested to hear what you use for work, what you find would be helpful, what your opinions are on this. If you see something I don't between the system I use now and this or the Happy Planner that you think could work differently or better, please give me your ideas. I want to know them. I think that's it. I have been wanting to do a more detailed video of drawing out my plan for work. Again, I just kind of love this system. I don't know. I wanted to find alternatives. We're going to see. If I don't use this for work, I do really like one picture each day. But man, that would be, I mean, I could do it on a weekend and, you know, find some joy in it, but wouldn't that be a photo album? Just a whole year of pictures? That would be 365 pictures. That's kind of a lot. I don't know if I want to do that many, so maybe not so much. Maybe I could do like 2 and journal about them, but again, I have so many other things I do for memory keeping. I think I would use my cousin for that. I don't know. I think this is still a very worthwhile notebook. It was only like $10. I think it was $10 or $12 on AliExpress. And the paper's great. I mean, the thing is, I journal and write so much. I could also just write in this every day, and it doesn't have to go by the days. You know, I could just write my own date and just write in it like a regular notebook. And that's what I like about these sorts of things. You can do whatever your heart desires in them. Just because it has numbers and days does not mean that's how you have to use it. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for seeing what I am working through to make my life as peaceful and great as possible. I'm realizing here I kind of like these. Look at all these colors, huh? Pretty fun, pretty cool. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I really appreciate being here. I see my camera got a little crooked. Hopefully that wasn't a bother. Peace out, home skillets.